You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Zambia's corruption rate increases TIZ. Zambia's corruption rate increases TIZ. Inflation rate for January hits 21.5%, highest in 56 months. Construction of KIMASALA-MUSHITALA bridge in Solwezi district stalled due to lack of funds. In international news, ethnic groups in central Mali sign 3 peace agreements. Zambia secures a place in the CHAN quarter-finals. That's in sports. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
2021 is finally here. Zambia is at the crossroads heading towards general elections this August. In the world where fake news, biased reporting on national issues has become the order of the day, in a world where social media in most cases spills lies and exaggerated information, insightful coverage, Zambia needs one media. Living in a country where people are slowly promoting tribalism, hatred, bitterness and revenge, political temperature is heating up and people's hearts are perplexed. Zambia needs one media. Zambia being a Christian nation living under the lordship of Jesus Christ, the nation cannot afford a compromised gospel. Zambia needs a prophetic media house. For hope, peace and unity, Zambia needs Camnet television. For non-biased, factual reporting, balanced opinion, accurate news coverage, Zambia needs Camnet television. For national projects and development of our beloved country Zambia, watch Camnet TV on channel 274 DSTV, channel 98 on GoTV and channel 106 on Topstar. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga. The United Party for National Development UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema has written to the 3 church mother bodies calling for what he calls as a sincere dialogue, with emphasis that the church leads the process. In this letter dated 28th January 2021, Mr. Hichilema has stated that the nation only has the church to turn to for counsel and guidance in times such as these. The UPND leader has indicated that the country is at a crossroads for the first time after a decade of strong economic growth resulting into lack of employment opportunities, especially among the youth, the young people who to a large extent have been exposed to anti-social vices. Mr. Hichilema says the poor state of the economy has been worsened by stifling national debt, which needs to be addressed seriously. The opposition leader has further indicated that the hate speech, psychological and physical violence have reached unprecedented levels for a country that was once held in high esteem for upholding democratic tenets, among other issues. The letter has since been copied to the principal private secretary at State House, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the Chief Justice and the Human Rights Commission. And still in the news, Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampiongo says the suspect in the killing of the state prosecutor Nsamansama and a United Party for National Development UPND sympathizer Joseph Kaunda has been identified. Mr. Kampiongo has, however, not stated the identity and occupation of the suspect who pulled the trigger and ended the lives of the 2 innocent citizens in cold blood could not be revealed. Speaking on the floor of Parliament that arising from the incident in which 2 people lost their lives, several measures have been put in place to prevent the loss of life. It says government will, among other things, introduce the training of officers on the recently acquired specialized equipment for effective crowd management. He further says routine station lectures on the use of firearms and parades will be conducted to assess the ability of officers to handle firearms before being assigned duties.
Director of Public Prosecutions has made a decision, because as it is, this is how far I can go, Madam Speaker. The rest is to follow after the decision of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I thank you. But like I said, Madam Speaker, where lawlessness or where disorderly activities take place, the risk of having casualties is very high, and you need to have officers well trained to deal with various situations. But I want to assure the honorable member that the only reason why we are proud to say Zambia is a peaceful nation for all these years is because we have had effective police. Yes, there could be shortcomings in one incident or another, and those shortcomings we need to acknowledge them and deal with them. But overall, when we say Zambia is a peaceful nation, we are saying Zambia is effectively policed.
Transparency International Zambia chapter has described corruption as an epidemic that has robbed many countries the much-needed development, Zambia inclusive. Speaking during the presentation of the 2020 Corruption Perception Index, TIZ chapter president Sampa Kalumba says Zambia's corruption levels are increasing as evidence from the CPI report, which shows that Zambia has dropped one place. Mr. Sampa says this can be attributed to the relaxation in prosecuting alleged corruption cases by the law enforcement agencies such as the Anti-Corruption Commission. Meanwhile, Anti-Corruption Commission has called on all citizens to take interest in the fight against corruption if the fight is to be won.
No doubt that corruption cripples economies worldwide. If a country has high corruption levels, its developmental aspirations will only move at a snail's pace. This is the case of Zambia, whose corruption index has moved down by one place according to the Corruption Perception Index. The index, which is aggregated by at least 3 sources, with Zambia having 13 sources, shows that Zambia has moved from 34 to 33rd place out of 100 in 2020. The index is measured from 0 to 100, with 0 being the most corrupt and 100 faring well. Unfortunately, between a year, Zambia has dropped a place by 1, an indication that corruption is increasing. Transparency International Zambia chapter president Sampa Kalungu has attributed this to high irregularities in the procurement system, citing the questionable awarding of a $17 million contract for the supply of defective kits, among other reasons.
2019 further dropped a point to 34, and in 2020 we have dropped even further to 33. The 2020 rank of 117 out of 180 countries also shows a 4-point drop from the 2019 ranking of 113 out of 180 countries. Corruption is endemic in Zambia and affects people's access to essential public services.
In speaking on a panel of discussion, GEARS Initiative Executive Director McDonald Jipenzi has called for the revision of appointments of organizational heads so that they operate independently.
The issue of appointing Director Generals, the IGs of this world, so that their accountability is to the people, is to the state, and not to the appointing authority. Second, we have to go back in the Constitution. For example, you are talking of the president not being subject to any civil and criminal proceedings when they are in office or he or she is in office. Now imagine, if the president cannot be put to scrutiny, what do you expect?
Meanwhile, the Anti-Corruption Commission also gave their thought on the fight against corruption.
Is not perfect. Definitely we need to improve. There are some areas, like in the Anti-Corruption Act, the sentencing regime within the Act is not deterrent enough. So we have since engaged the government to try and make sure that this Act is reviewed to include sentences that are prohibited to the offenders. Apart from that, we have also engaged the government to try and come up with specialized courts that will specifically deal with corruption cases. This, we believe, will enhance the disposal of cases in courts of law.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Government has over the years boasted of having created a good road network countrywide, but this has been disputed by some residents of Northwestern Province. This is because the works on the KIMASALA-MUSHITALA bridge worth 7.5 million kwacha, located in the Central Business District CBD in Solwezi District, Northwestern Province, have stalled due to lack of funding. KIMASALA-MUSHITALA bridge, which was commissioned on the 29th of January 2016 by the Vice President Inonge Wina, has not been completed for public use. Residents are now calling on government to facilitate the completion of the bridge to ease the movement of goods and other services, especially now during the rain season. More in this report.
It's now over 5 years since the bridge was commissioned, but up to date, there has been little progress. The commissioning was done by Vice President Inonge Wina in 2016. A year after the bridge was commissioned, works stalled, and in 2017, official information indicates that 5 million kwacha was needed to complete the KIMASALA-MUSHITALA bridge. The completion of the bridge would help to create an alternative route for heavy trucks. The people of this locality have limited options. Hence, they endure the obstacles of going through the dangerous path despite associated risks, which are even higher for children.
As you can see behind me is a bridge that was supposed to be a beautiful view, but unfortunately, as you can see, what was supposed to be beautiful is a danger zone. This project initially was started somewhere 2015, an initiative that was already with here paid for around 7 million kwacha. But unfortunately, the contractor left it as it is. So we are appealing to the government, if possible, let them look for other funds or make call-ups to the contractor or whoever is responsible, so that they can do the right thing for the society, for the people of Solwezi, for the people of Masala. Because apparently people are endangering their lives, especially the children where they are passing now. Very soon or later, as we'll be opening schools, we'll hear someone has been carried by the force, by the current that is there.
But when reached for a comment, Northwestern Province Minister Nathaniel Mubukwanu told this journalist that the project was among those affected by the pronouncement to halt projects below 80%. In the year 2018, in view of observing austerity measures, the government terminated financing of development projects that were below 80% completion. He, however, said the project has not been ignored, but that it will be attended to as soon as other ventures are completed.
Any project that is not more than 80% will be on hold. Only projects that are above 80% are going to receive priority, because there are so many projects that are dotted around. So in order to focus completion of this project so that they can be available for public use, government decided to say, okay, we are going to use this approach so that our people can begin benefiting, because some projects were at 90%, some at 97%, but they were not being attended to. So that's why I said, okay, let's put focus on these few projects. Once we finish this, then we can take another batch of projects. So we're not talking about when the project started. No, that's not the question. The question is, has the project reached 80% threshold? If no, then it can't be implemented right away. But that doesn't mean that the project has been shelved completely. No. The project is still active in the work plan for government. As soon as we have created enough physical space, then we are going to deal with that particular project.
Reporting for Camnet TV News, I'm Patrick Soko.
The January 2021 inflation rate has increased by 2.3% from 19.2% recorded in December 2020 to 21.5%. Zambia's statistics agency Interim General Mulenga Musepa has attributed this sharp increase in inflation rate to the price upsurge in food items such as bread and cereals, meal, maize grain, among others. Meanwhile, the country's total trade for the period January to December 2020 was recorded at about 242 billion kwacha compared to about 184 billion in 2019, representing a 32% increase despite the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Details in this report.
Inflation, also referred to as the rate at which a value of a currency is falling, or the overall increase in the prices of items, or the increase in the cost of living of a country, has hit record high in Zambia, the highest in 4 years. January's annual inflation is now at 21.5%, and this has been attributed to the increase in the prices of food items such as meal, meat, fish, cereals, oils, vegetables, and others. And while the local currency has continued to depreciate against other major currencies, with one United States dollar now trading at 21.41 kwacha, food inflation has also increased to 25.6% in January 2021 compared to 2.2% in December 2020. Zambian Statistics Agency Interim Statistician General Musepa Mlenga addressed the media Thursday morning.
Inflation in the month of January was recorded at 21.5%. That is basically an increase from 19.2% in December 2020. We are seeing much of this being driven by non-maize food items. And these items basically have got bread and cereals, meats, fish, and vegetables. These have been the main drivers of inflation right from last year.
Meanwhile, non-food inflation rate for January 2021 increased to 1.3%, and this development has been attributed to price movement of purchasing of vehicles, private school fees, and college fees.
Fees, that is private. Okay? I must have said secondly, but it's private, the primary school fees. This is where you see some more noticeable movement in terms of the fees over the 12-month period, more than doubling from 1,206 to 2,866. That's on average. But also in secondary school fees, I think that there isn't basically much there, the movement. The colleges, the movement. There's been some kind of intervention, I think, in government colleges. But this, again, these are the things I was saying, the various institutions now can go their mind and see what's happening there, to see whether there are any policy interventions that we need to undertake.
And while COVID-19 impacted the world with economies shutting their borders, Zambia's trade for the period January to December 2020 stands at 241.89 billion kwacha compared to 183.20 billion kwacha in 2019.
It was higher by 30.2% compared to 2019, and those are the numbers that you actually see, 241.89 billion in 2020 compared to 183.2 billion in 2019.
The impact of the Zambian kwacha depreciating against major currencies has continued to negatively affect businesses and households, and the results are being felt with the country's inflation rate surging higher than ever. Fiscal discipline remains key at ensuring economic stability. Prudence Chota for Camnet TV News.
3 small-scale farmers have been arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission in Luapula Province for unlawful cultivation of fresh cannabis plants weighing 1.23 tons, contrary to Cap 96 of the laws of Zambia. Details are that the 3 who were apprehended during a special operation conducted in Chiengi district of Luapula Province on the 24th of January 2021, following concerns raised by local residents. Commission Public Relations Officer Teresa Katongo says those arrested are jointly charged include Samson Mumbi, aged 48, of Mukosa Village, Paul Kawe, male aged 22, of Kazembe Village, and John Makai, male aged 45, also of Mukosa Village in Chiengi district.
In Luapula Province has arrested 3 small-scale farmers for unlawful cultivation of fresh cannabis plants weighing 1.23 tons, contrary to Cap 96 of the laws of Zambia. The 3 were apprehended during a special operation conducted in Chiengi district of Luapula Province on 24th January 2021, following concerns raised by local residents of rampant cultivation and trafficking of cannabis in the area, especially along the border between Zambia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Those arrested and jointly charged include Samson Mumbi, male aged 48, of Mukosa Village, Paul Kabwe, male aged 22, of Kazembe Wamabanga Village, and John Makai, male aged 45, also of Mukosa Village in Chiengi district. Meanwhile, the commission undertook an operation in Lusaka's Kalingalinga township, where one of the notorious gangs and their purported leader, identified as Roda Mpande, female aged 69, were arrested for drug trafficking. The notorious gang, comprising 5 males and 1 female, have been reported several times for disturbing peace among residents of Kalingalinga Township. The 5, identified as Joseph Jere, Evans Muzawala, James Mwanza, and 2 juveniles, were found with 42 sachets of heroin and loose cannabis weighing 39.7 grams.
A 35-year-old farmer of Lusaka, Nasenga area in Lusaka district has been dragged to court for allegedly stealing 5 planks from the University of Zambia, costing 62,000 kwacha. This is in a case in which Thomas Musulwe is facing 1 count of theft, contrary to Section 272 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia. Allegations are that Musulwe, on the 17th of October 2020, stole 5 planks valued at 62,000 kwacha, the property of the University of Zambia. Musulwe is expected to take plea before Magistrate Fides Hamaundu. Meanwhile, a 22-year-old man of Lusaka's Chawama compound has been dragged to court for possession of offensive weapons. In this matter, John Munga is facing 1 count of possession of offensive weapons, contrary to Section 85 of the Penal Code. Allegations are that John Munga, on the 9th of January 2021, was in possession of offensive weapons, namely iron bars, scissors, and a knife without lawful authority. Still in the news, Zambia records 17 COVID-19 deaths in the last 24 hours. We take a break. Do stay with us.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Take control of your tax planning. Avoid penalties and interest. Returns and payments due by the 10th of the month for declarations of the previous month's transactions are pay as you earn and skills development levy. Returns and payments due by the 14th of the month are turnover tax, withholding tax, mineral royalty tax, tourism levy, gaming and baiting, presumptive tax. Returns and payments for all withholding VAT agents is the 16th of the month. Returns and payments for all VAT registered suppliers is the 18th of the month. Submit the returns and make payments on or before the respective due dates to avoid penalties on the late submission of returns and payments of taxes. Further, note that VAT tax invoices for all business-to-business and business-to-government transactions must bear the tip-in of the buyer without fail. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
Well, Amwandi, you know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work.
Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me.
Yes!
I already know the secrets. Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin. "2021 is finally here. Zambia is at the crossroads heading towards general elections this August. In the world where fake news, biased reporting on national issues has become the order of the day, in a world where social media in most cases spills lies and exaggerated information, insightful coverage, Zambia needs one media. Living in a country where people are slowly promoting tribalism, hatred, bitterness and revenge, political temperature is heating up and people's hearts are perplexed. Zambia needs one media. Zambia being a Christian nation living under the lordship of Jesus Christ, the nation cannot afford a compromised gospel. Zambia needs a prophetic media house. For hope, peace and unity, Zambia needs Camnet television. For non-biased, factual reporting, balanced opinion, accurate news coverage, Zambia needs Camnet television. For national projects and development of our beloved country Zambia, watch Camnet TV on channel 274 DSTV, channel 98 on Go TV and channel 106 on Topstar. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Hello, have you heard about Msika? Do you know that you can advertise for as low as 150 kwacha for 30 seconds? Well, Msika is here. Advertise on Msika between 17 hours and 18 hours. Just tell us about the services that you offer and we'll gladly put you on the market. For more details, you can contact
+260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467.
Msika, allowing your business to grow.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. The Ministry of Health has called on the Ministry of General Education to ensure increased surveillance in schools as they reopen on Monday, the 1st of February 2021. Health Minister Dr. Jonas Chanda has warned that schools that will be found not adhering to stipulated COVID-19 measures will be recommended for closure by the ministry till required standards are met. Speaking during the weekly COVID-19 update, Dr. Chanda disclosed that in the last 24 hours, the country has recorded 1,408 new cases out of 13,524 tests conducted. On a sad note, the Ministry of Health has announced that 17 people have died in the last 24 hours, while 1,489 recoveries have been recorded. More in this report.
COVID-19, a deadly virus that has continued to claim more lives on a daily basis across the continent. Today alone, Zambia has recorded 17 deaths. Despite the alarming levels of new cases the country records on a single day, schools which were postponed with 2 weeks to reopen are expected to reopen by next week Monday, the 1st of February 2021. On the 15th of this month, President Edgar Lungu made a directive that schools reopen on the 1st of February, unlike the earlier scheduled date, the 18th of January 2021. However, some parents and stakeholders from different sectors are still not with the idea that schools reopen on Monday, considering the alarming cases of COVID-19 the country has continued recording. However, the Ministry of Health says it fully supports President Lungu's stance that schools should reopen on Monday, February 1st, 2021. It has since called on the Ministry of General Education to ensure increased surveillance in schools.
In the last 24 hours, 1,408 new cases out of a total of 13,524 tests performed have been confirmed, and this represents a positivity rate of 10.4%. What we have seen is that at one time we were dealing with very high positivity rates of up to 18%, but the positivity rate has remained almost constant between 10, 11, 12%. This brings the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases recorded to date to 50,319. Regrettably, 17 new deaths were recorded in the last 24 hours, 10 of which have been classified as COVID-19 deaths, 2 as COVID-associated, and 5 deaths are pending classification following expert review. The deaths were reported from the Copper Belt, 8, Lusaka, 7, Central, 1, and Eastern, 1. We have now recorded a total of 705 cumulative deaths, classified as follows: 316 COVID deaths, 384 COVID-19 associated deaths, and 5 deaths pending classification.
The ministry has, however, warned that it will recommend closure of schools that will be found not adhering to stipulated measures.
We as the Ministry of Health fully support the President's stance that schools should open on Monday. Schools should open, and there's no one size fits all. You know, different schools can be at different levels of preparation. So what we are calling on the Ministry of General Education, Higher Education, is increased vigilance, working together with us, the Ministry of Health, local government, and others. We are going to take schools on a case-by-case basis. There's no one size fits all, one bullet approach. Schools shall be treated on a case-by-case basis. Those schools that will be found not to be adhering to these guidelines, we shall recommend for closure. But that said, His Excellency the President has guided schools will open, within on Monday. The 2 weeks has lapsed. Minister of Health, Minister of General Education, DMMU, and government in general have done so much. Let the parents also help us to ensure that the children are masked up and the school.
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NAKEZ, has appealed to the government not to allow schools reopen on the 1st of February, but instead open them on the 8th of February 2021. Organization Executive Director Aaron Chansa says this will allow the Ministry of General Education support by the business community and other well-wishers to avail funds to schools. Mr. Chansa says a survey conducted in 4,627 public schools revealed that only 40% had met the COVID-19 health guidelines for schools which have been outlined by the Ministry of Health. Mr. Chansa adds that among all the schools visited, only 35% had infrared thermometers, 30% had adequate desks, 25% had hand sanitizers, and 49% of schools had adequate hand washing facilities. As it stands, schools are scheduled to open on the 1st of February 2021 after a postponement from the initial January date.
Conducting a nationwide survey to ascertain the readiness of schools for opening on 1st February. Our findings are that only about 40% of our schools, public schools, are ready for reopening. Very few had infrared thermometers, very few had the sanitizers, and our position now is that we give these schools an extra week so that stakeholders, well-wishers and the ministry should be able to fund schools for the schools to get ready. So we appeal to all well-wishers to help government, to help the ministry and make schools ready. In as much as we see that not reopening now will have social and academic consequences, we are also aware that the current wave is very dangerous, and allowing learners and teachers to go to schools which are not ready will also be very dangerous for all of us. So we think that most schools are not ready, and we need to make them ready before schools could reopen.
The Higher Education Authority has deregistered Greenlight University from operating as a higher education institution within the Republic of Zambia. This follows an extraordinary board of the authority meeting under Gazette Notice number 28 of 2020, which was published on Friday, the 8th of January 2021. The institution was deregistered due to, among other reasons, breaching of the Higher Education Act number 4 of 2013, section 20, as it had inadequate and unsustainable teaching and learning facilities for residential classes and library services. The authority's corporate communications officer, Boniface Musoba, says the institution also failed to provide complete student records, including student assessment results for students who graduated on the 22nd of December 2020. He has since cautioned the general public enrolling at any private institution that is not registered with the authority, adding that their qualifications will not be recognized.
The premises used for residential classes were neither approved nor registered by the authority as required by the Higher Education Act number 4 of 2013, section 21(2). Number 2, the institution failed to provide complete student records, including students' assessment results for students who graduated from it. For the purposes of assessing whether learning took place or how students were assessed. The institution was thus in breach of the Higher Education Act number 4 of 2013, section 12(2), which states that a higher education institution shall submit data on the enrollment, records of achievement and award of learners to the authority at such intervals and in such a manner as the authority may determine. Number 3, by graduating students in unaccredited learning programs, the institution was in breach of statutory instrument number 25 of 2016, part 3, paragraph 10(1), which states that the proprietor of a higher education institution shall not offer learning programs for which it is not accredited. HEA continues to warn the general public not to enroll in any private institution that is not registered with the authority or in any learning program from both private and public institutions that is not accredited by the authority, as their qualifications when they complete will not be recognized.
The Continental Leadership Research Institute, CLRI, says the decision by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to restrict the number of international election observers undermines the spirit of transparency and accountability in the electoral process. CLRI Executive Director Paul Hankola says ECZ must be more consultative when making such important decisions as opposed to making announcements. Mr. Hankola says the Zambian airspace and borders have been open, meaning that different individuals from various parts of the world are able to visit Zambia without any restrictions. He was commenting on the revelations made by ECZ on Monday that international observers may need to use their local staff to monitor the 2021 general elections owing to COVID-19.
The Continental Leadership Research Institute notes the statement by Electoral Commission of Zambia over possible restriction of a number of international observers to observe the 2021 elections. As an institute, our position is as follows. The Zambian airspace and borders have been open, meaning different individuals from different parts of the world have been able to visit Zambia without any restriction whatsoever. Therefore, the position by ECZ to restrict international observers does not hold water. The statement by ECZ undermines the spirit of transparency and accountability in the electoral process. The ECZ has been less consultative, and the Institute has also noted the lapses by the Commission's media department to engage stakeholders through robust media programs aimed at explaining the electoral process and conduct civic education. This situation has caused anxiety among members of the public. As an institute, we reaffirm our earlier position to call on ECZ to be more consultative and to learn to build consensus amongst stakeholders. In view of their above reasons, the Institute believes that the possible restriction of international observers will undermine and erode the credibility of our electoral process.
Zambia's project called Strengthening Climate Resilience in the Kafue Sub-Basin, SRICA, under the Ministry of National Development Planning, has won the African Water Challenge Makers People's Choice Award at the just concluded 2021 Climate Adaptation Summit. The government of the Netherlands and the Global Water Partnership co-organized the summit that took place on the 25th and the 26th of January 2021, aimed at creating actions that will accelerate African adoption. And Ministry of Development Planning Permanent Secretary Chola Chabala is happy that Zambia's efforts in the implementation of life-transforming projects are being appreciated beyond the country. The SRICA is being implemented in 3 provinces, among them Lusaka and Southern provinces.
Magnitude of the summit through which this project was nominated, we are grateful that the SRICA project was overwhelmingly voted by the people, as I indicated, from across the globe. And this award is an endorsement of the international community and the people on the ground of Zambia's on the commitment by the Zambian government with regard to the implementation of people-centered projects that go towards empowering the masses, especially those vulnerable segments within the communities within which we are implementing the project, to be able to cope with the challenges of the day. You may recall that in 2019, the Republican President directed the Ministry of National Development Planning to formulate and coordinate the implementation of programs that should make Zambia more resilient to climate change. This award is a practical response to the directive that was given to us by the President. The assessment precluded all other players and focused on beneficiaries and the citizenry. This is a snapshot impact assessment that speaks highly of beneficiary assessment. You know, a beneficiary assessment is where we don't make the claim, but the people who are actually benefiting from what is being implemented on the ground make the observations, and those whose needs or whose lives are transformed speak for themselves.
The Zambia Law Development Commission, ZLDS, has recommended that some of the words in the Criminal Procedure Court Act, CPC, and related legislation be reviewed. Speaking during the presentation, ZLDC Senior Research Officer Lina Jere says some of the words in the CPC, like idiots, retard, abnormal, and imbeciles, are degrading and discriminatory and must be deleted from the Penal Code. She says says words like carnal knowledge should be replaced with sexual intercourse, as the use of simple terms would help people understand. She explains that the review was undertaken after an outcry from stakeholders in the criminal justice system who observed that some words are archaic and inappropriate.
Outline of the presentation is that I'll begin with the objectives of this meeting. I will then move on to an introduction for the project, where I will provide a background to the law reform project as well as the project objectives. This will be followed by a summary of findings from the desk review that was conducted by the Commission, a summary of recommendations from the technical committee as well as from other stakeholders, and finally, a conclusion in the Criminal Procedure Code Act, so that there is no duplication of offenses under different pieces of legislation. That we should increase the minimum age of responsibility, that's criminal responsibility, to 12 years old. The words idiot, retard, abnormal, imbecile are derogatory and discriminatory and should be deleted from the penal code. Update provisions that make reference to the court structure by the addition of the Court of Appeal. Canon knowledge replaced with sexual intercourse. In this regard, stakeholders said we should use simple terms that people would easily understand. Then they also said death penalty should be maintained, as this punishment is still provided for in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Removing it requires public consultations and political dispensation. Further, it is deterrent and the public appear to support it. All provisions relating to defamation and libel in the penal code should be repealed.
We take a break to stay with us as we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
Dr. Bigron, musayibala komutienda okuni gift na land. Uchitenkubeti uibise mojo basayone. Oh! Mwina moshi, nakuletera njinga. Latest inaluvesi gear na mawaipa.
Difficult dia shidia njinga. Liam 19 pendef kondo. Transport, we got it.
Nanga phone for communication. Ipuzi sana chizungu. Yeah, you see what I mean?
It's a camera, difficult.
It's communication. We got it. Inemomi! Powerful system ndimba X-Buzz.
Mufumile kukalale. Na mnaimo muli bakumushi. We got it. Yo Bigron, utole noleta nchemfule mungani. Ngecho wachira pose na nchita 1, 2, 3, both of you. Kabala ngempang. Don't be stupid. We got it.
Can I have that meal over there? And I really want that crisp, fresh apple taste from the garden. Can I have happy apple?
I think I'll have my big bite 2 meal with happy waziwaka. Give us your
enjoy an appetizing big bite meal with an happy drink of your choice. A meal is not a meal without an happy drink. And now introducing Happy in a can.
The Cowbell Choco formula has been stolen. Get it back at all costs.
Tasting Cowbell Choco gives you the get up and go to be at the top of your game. Now with Vitality Plus Iron. Great tasting Cowbell Choco, a creamy chocolatey drink that helps give energy to get up and go.
Hello, have you heard about Msika? Do you know that you can advertise for as low as 150 kwacha for 30 seconds? Well, Msika is here. Advertise on Msika between 17 hours and 18 hours. Just tell us about the services that you offer and we'll gladly put you on the market. For more details, you can contact
+260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467.
Msika, allowing your business to grow.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. Rival ethnic groups in Mali have signed a peace agreement after months of mediation. There have been years of violence between the Fulani and the Dogon. Hundreds have died and thousands displaced. In other news, still on the global front, Peru's armed forces have tightened border security with Ecuador to prevent mostly Venezuelan migrants from crossing over. They say they are trying to stop the spread of the coronavirus as hospitals in the country struggle to cope. We monitored Al Jazeera for this international roundup.
Among the cattle in this slaughterhouse on the outskirts of the capital Bamako are families hiding from death. They are ethnic Dogons and Fulani herders, members of two agricultural communities who have been fighting over arable land in central Mali. They're now living side by side in the capital, waiting for the violence to subside. A new peace agreement mediated by Swiss negotiators has been signed by both sides. The deal is supported by Mali's transitional government, but the people here are still too afraid to return home.
I don't believe a few signatures on a piece of paper can bring peace. First, we need to disarm everyone. I mean, each and every villager, one by one, needs to forfeit their weapons to allow us farmers to return to our land and bring this war to an end.
Low rainfall and more droughts have made central Mali's arable land a source of conflict. Fulani nomads encroach on Dogon farmland to graze their cattle. In 2019, this land dispute turned violent. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, almost 3,000 people have died in the fighting, mostly in central Mali. In the absence of the Malian state to mediate this crisis, armed groups stepped in, fueling divisions. ISIL and Al-Qaeda affiliates protecting the Fulani herders fight against Dogon militia group Danna Abasagu, supported by government forces. The fighting is spreading beyond central Mali to neighboring Burkina Faso. Almost 2 million people are displaced.
Dogons, Fulanis, we are the same people. We are all Malians. We need a peace accord that can guarantee security for all. This is what we need for us to come and live side by side together again.
As part of the Swiss-brokered peace agreement, Fulanis and Dogon living in the region of Koro agreed to forgive past crimes, stop carrying weapons, and agree to build trust to allow the return of displaced people. In a statement, the Swiss Center for Humanitarian Dialogue says the support of the Malian authorities will be crucial in consolidating these new achievements. This peace agreement comes as France plans to reduce its military presence in Mali, where 5,000 French soldiers are stationed. The government of transition is seeking a shift in policy, calling for dialogue with armed groups. The aim is to end the violence so that people can return to their land.
Peruvian armed forces on their way to the border with Ecuador. It's the latest move by Peru's government to prevent mostly Venezuelan migrants from entering the country and potentially bringing coronavirus with them.
Our borders are closed for sanitary reasons, and what we have to do is to make sure that any passage that takes place is lawful.
But it's been a challenge to close the border completely. Since early January, the two countries have detected and destroyed 11 routes used to cross illegally.
We are deploying military police across the border to assist our people so that the virus is not carried. The virus goes with those who migrate. All illegal border crossings are to be shut down.
Peru has a reason to be concerned. The number of COVID infections has increased dramatically in recent weeks. This is a daily scene in this Andean nation, which has already reached more than 1 million cases. It is one of the worst affected countries in the region.
We are going through a period of terror. We are unsafe. We go out in public with great insecurity. We come to the hospital and there's a line. We wait for hours and hours. I think the government needs to take note for the health minister to come to hospitals. Look at the people. There are children and elderly inside.
Hospitals are struggling to cope with the increase in infections. And that's why President Francisco Sagasti this week announced a total lockdown of the capital and 9 other regions.
I think we've got 2 or 3 very difficult weeks ahead because we don't have any more physical space to treat patients. We don't have beds in intensive care, so we won't have places for all those who are sick in the coming days. It's certain that the number of deaths will go up a lot, which is difficult because we're seeing more younger people dying than in the first wave.
Peru has lagged behind other countries in efforts to ensure vaccines for its citizens. The ouster of one president and the resignation of another one in 2020 has had a huge impact on how this country has handled COVID-19.
We now get into sports news. The Zambian national team has progressed to the quarterfinals of the ongoing African Nations Championship CHAN. This follows a goalless draw with Namibia finishing second in Group D with 5 points, tied with leaders Guinea, who have a better goal difference. Zambia will play defending champions Morocco on Sunday at 18 hours. The Chipolopolo will shift town while Guinea will stay in Limbe to play Rwanda. And soccer analyst Tandika Chira says Zambia must not be relaxed if they are to qualify to the next level of the tournament.
We need to see a change, of course, with what happened in Zambia versus Namibia. And the players must know, first thing, that how to function in different positions when their team is in possession. But secondly, players must know how to function in different positions when their opponents has the ball. And of course, thirdly, players must know how to function in different positions when a change of possession occurs. So we need the players who will be able to respond to these facets in football, and the coach must make sure he works on that, especially the scoring abilities. We've failed lamentably in that department because from open play we've scored only 2 goals and 1 from shooting in the first match. Then the second goal was through a penalty, and then in the third one it was a header, of course, from a substitute. So all in all, in the game against Namibia, we failed to find the back of the net. The team did not try to score goals, despite the chances, 20 shots on target, which were recorded, but none on target. So against Morocco, we must be at our best, and at this game, the coach must make sure in his training he looks at certain components of the players, which we may talk about the technique, the insight and communication, sometimes referred as the TIC, for them to have football proficiency. And the coach must make sure he's watertight at the back, but scoring goals. And that's what we need. Even if it's a goal, all we need is a must win against Morocco side. And he must make
That sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Zambia's corruption rate increases TIZ. Inflation rate for January hit 21.5%, highest in 56 months. Construction of KIMASALA-MUSHITALA bridge in Solwezi district stalled due to lack of funds. And in international news, ethnic groups in central Mali signed 3 peace agreements. And in sports news, Zambia secures a place in the CHAN quarterfinals. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from the book of Psalms 24, verse 9 to 10, and it reads, "Lift up your hands, you gates, rise up, ancient doors. Then the King of glory will come in. Who is he, this King of glory? The Lord of hosts, he is the King of glory." On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.